Hotep, and peace and love to everybody. My name is Ra Imhotep. I am broadcasting on behalf of 13signsastrology.com. I'm doing this video today on the metaphysics behind the Bible. I guess it was meant for me to do this video today because I actually attempted at doing this video a few days ago, and as I was doing it, I had some difficulties. And I kind of see why now, because I was able to pick up on a little bit more information to offer people in this video today pertaining to the metaphysics behind the Bible. Now, the Bible is a book that is misunderstood by the majority of Western culture. And reason for that is because most people, the average person, if you question them, now this is the average person, I'm not saying everybody, but the average person believes that the Bible was written by God. They believe that the Bible was written by God, basically through the prophets. They believe that the Bible was revealed from God to the prophets, and the prophets in turn imparted the information to the people. And this is basically the general belief behind the Bible. Now, when you research it and you start to research the Bible, you will find something totally different. And I'm going to first cover that. I'm going to first cover in this video the history of the Bible. Briefly now, because you know these videos are brief, just to help people to look at things from another angle, help people to think better, because you can think yourself out of your situation. No matter what the situation is, it only requires thought. You can think yourself out of your enslavement. Just like the lack of knowledge will lead to your enslavement. So, and the amount of knowledge that you have will determine your freedom here in the Matrix, because your freedom is based on knowledge. So it's important, before you put your beliefs into things, before you put your faith into things and you begin to work on things, before you do those things and you begin to work on the things that you believe, make sure that you research all the facts about the particular thing that you are going to believe in. There's nothing wrong with belief, but you want to research the facts as to come to a general consensus as far as understanding what it is that you're going to put your belief in. You want to come to a general consensus based upon other people that have believed in this and their results in believing in it. You want to come to a general consensus as to the validity of whatever it is that you're basing your beliefs on. Is it concrete? Is it valid to you? Is it valid for you? These are the things that you want to do before you put your belief in something. There's nothing different with the Bible. It's nothing different with the Bible. You want to, before you just put your belief in something, you want to research the history of where the Bible came from. And that's what I'm going to go into first. Now, the Bible, beloveds, is basically a book that has 66 books in it. So the Bible is a big book that has many small books in it. And it's 66 books in it, but that's not the amount of books that was in the Bible, you guys. Prior to your King James Version. You see, at one point, the Bible had over 132 books at one point. Yeah, the Bible had over 132 books at one point. Then when the Catholics got the Bible and the Catholic Bible was compiled, it was reduced to 72 books. And then eventually, in the King James Version, it was like 6 more books was later taken out, which would bring it down to 66 books. And the extra 6 will give you 666. So it was 6 books removed from the Catholic Bible, because the Catholic Bible has 72 books, still has it. 6 books was removed to come up with the King James Version. And the King James Version has 66 books. So the extra 6 will be 666, which is a coded number based on Codex Inscriptus. You see, because the Bible is written on a codex. See, it's written on a code. You see, and a lot of people don't realize this. When they read the Bible, they take things literally without doing research. And that's why you have to research it and research how it was compiled and how it was put together before you just go on assumptions and assume things. And that's what many people do. They assume things, or they take what their pastor teaches them on face value. And I have no problem with a person's religion. My only thing here on this channel is really to get people to think and to do their own research and to look at facts. Now, you can't base your life totally on facts. I'll say that right now. I'm not one of those guys that runs around and says that you have to base your life totally on facts, because you don't. You have to have enough facts so that you can put the proper amount of belief in a thing. When a person puts half belief in a thing, they will get half results back based upon what they believe in. You believe in Jesus, but you halfway believe in him, meaning you don't live the life. But the person that lives the life will get better results, more results, and their results will last longer than a person that doesn't believe in him as much. And the belief can be increased. Your level of belief can be increased by having facts, data, information. That's what it's all about. So yeah, you got the King James Version, which was basically compiled because of the fact that you had a group of people that wanted to read the Bible. And they didn't want to join the universal church, which is the Catholic Church. You see, the Catholic Church, the term Catholic means universal. And the Catholic Church is a universal church. And when the Catholic Church was first started, the Catholic Church was started with the intention of being the only religion and the only game in town. The Catholic Church was started with the intention in mind to get rid of all of the occultists, all of the wizards, all of the witches. This is why the Catholic Church was put together, or one of the reasons why, for control purposes, to be a universal church where everybody would come to. One religion, part of the New World Order. You see, the New World Order goes way back. The New World Order didn't just start in 1980. The New World Order didn't just start in 1913. The New World Order goes back, way back, before the Catholic Church even. And the Catholic Church was basically just trying to control the New World Order, because the New World Order started back in Egypt. That's when the New World Order started, when the Empire of Nubia was constructed. That's when the New World Order started, and you just had different groups of people that controlled the world stage. And the Catholic Church, at the time, Council of Nicaea, was the new group that decided that they were going to control people. You see, the New World Order is just basically the group that controls the masses. That's who controls the New World Order, whatever group controls the masses. So you had the Catholic Church, you had the Council of Nicaea. And the Catholic Church was meant to be the only game in town, but what happened was that, I'm summing this up, of course, you had a group of what they were called protesters that decided that they didn't like the strict rules of the Catholic Church, and they wanted to have their own thing. So Martin Luther, who was the head of the Protestant movement comes from protesters, Protestant protesters. These protesters later became the Protestant movement, and they later formed your Lutheran faiths, your Adventists, your Baptists, your Methodists, your other sects, basically, that were not up under the Catholic Church, came from the Protestant movement. And the Protestant movement shapes Western culture. The Protestant movement shapes Western culture. So Western culture is basically more so controlled by the Protestant movement as far as that mentality and that concept. And the Bible was basically printed by the Protestant movement. The printing press itself was developed mostly to print up Bibles and distribute Bibles, because the Bible is the book of the West. That's the book, the Bible. That's the good book of the West, because all of Western society is based upon the stories of the Bible, which makes it the good book, the good book. So that's how the Bible got into Western culture and translated into English. The Bible was never meant to be translated into English. The only reason why it was translated into English is because you had a group of Protestants that didn't speak the Latin that the Bible was in the Catholic, under the Catholic guidance. The Bible was in a form of Latin. And these particular Westerners didn't speak Latin. They spoke English, so they wanted the Bible to be translated in English. The Catholics didn't want it, but eventually it happened anyway. So that's how the Bible got into English, and that's why the Bible got into English. But I understand why the Catholic Church did not want the Bible to be translated into English. And it's because the Bible would eventually lose its meaning. You see, the Bible has lost its meaning upon being translated into English. Words that you associate in the Bible, and I've talked about this before, but I have to cover this information in this video. I have to better explain it. Words that you look at, like heaven, for instance, in the Bible, aren't always the words that are there when you go into the original tongues that the Bible was translated into. For instance, heaven in the Latin or Greek, the Vulgate tongue, is Oranos. The term for heaven is Oranos, and Oranos is Orion, which is a star constellation. And that gives you a different picture of where God's abode is, because God's abode, or his throne, is said to be in Orion or Oranos. And I always point this out because it shows you that this God that you're talking about has to be a being, a physical being, because he exists in a star constellation that's obviously physical, because you see the light reflecting back to us from the Orion star constellation, which means that it's light there, which makes it physical star constellation, which means physical beings are there. So words are mistranslated over time in the English versions of the Bible. You can get an old King James version and get a better interpretation than you can in those New American versions. Those New American versions and those women's study Bibles and men's study Bibles and all of these things that are going further and further away from the King James version are getting, the translation is getting poorer and poorer. And the King James version itself is already poor enough because it's in English, but it's a lot better than those study Bibles. You see, because those study Bibles and those American Heritage Bibles and all of that, those Bibles aren't good. And really, the Oxford is the one that you want to get. If you're going to read it in English, get the Oxford. But I suggest that you get a lexicon, an English to Hebrew lexicon, which translates the words in the Bible from English into Hebrew and gives you the Hebrew and the Latin and the Greek that is located in the Bible. So that's the best way to read it, so that you can understand it. And that's why a lot of people don't understand what I'm about to point out now, is the fact that the Bible is nothing but the greatest story ever told. The stories in the Bible are merely stories that were rehashed from ancient stories. I can start with the story of Adam and go all the way down. You see, the story of Adam is the story of a particular being called Kadmon. And Kadmon is basically equal to Adam. The story of Adam came from the story of Kadmon. I'm not going to go into all of the information here, but you need to research that. The story of Esau, his two sons, Jacob. Esau had two sons. I'm sorry, Isaac. Excuse me. Isaac. He had two sons, which was Jacob and Esau. This story is basically the same story as the story of Cain and Abel. It's just merely different names in it, and the play is slightly demonstrated a little differently. And I did say play because those stories in the Bible are basically a mere play. That's all the Bible is. The stories in the Bible is nothing but a mere play. And the stories are basically scripts. That's why it's called scripture, because the stories are scripts. It's a play. And it's written in a certain format, just like you have software to write movies with and things like that. Well, it's a certain format that you would use to write scripture, and it's called Codex and Scriptus. And this is the format that is used to, or that was used to compile the Bible. Codex and Scriptus. The Bible is a play. The story of Joshua, I can go on, is the story of Jesus. Same story, just a different way that it's demonstrated. And the reason why is because those stories in the Bible, even though most stories in the Bible are rehashing each other, because you got to keep that in mind too. The stories in the Bible are rehashing each other, but not only that, all the stories that are in the Bible are rehashing the stories of the ancients. The stories of Krishna, the story of Heru, the story of many different ancient Tammuz, different ancient Messiah types are the same stories that are told of Jesus Christ. Just merely a different name is put on it. That's the only difference. Instead of Jesus Christ, it's Heru or Tammuz or something like that. So that's basically in a nutshell, part one regarding the scriptures and pertaining to the metaphysics. Now I'm going to get into part two, and I'm going to get back at you guys with part two. So that's part one or whatever, the history of the Bible. Now part two, in the metaphysics of the Bible, and how the Bible came from the ancients, and how the stories are rehashed. Now in part two, I'm going to go into how the ancient stories were telling another story. And that's something that you're going to have to tune into. The greatest story ever told that's never been told because it's lost its meaning. So I hope you learned something, and I want you to stay tuned for part two. Peace.